Hi. Some years ago, I had occasion to visit Sakesar. And for those of you who don't know where Sakesar is, it's in the Salt Range, just very near Sargodha. And it's an escarpment, so it's like a high point, a plateau, and a sudden rise in the plains of Punjab. So it's like being on a hilltop. There's a small mountain range called the Salt Range. And one thing is that because it's at a height, there is no source of water supply to Sakesar. And there is an Air Force base and a radar station right on top. Now, because there is no water supply, the water has to be pumped from down below. So imagine, there is a pipe and there are pumping stations along the way, and they're pumping water uphill. I don't know, maybe 1,000 meters, little over 1,000 meters. And that must take a lot of energy. And it occurred to me that, if, it's the reverse of hydroelectric. If you think about it, in hydroelectric, from water dropping, we're able to generate power, but here we are actually putting in power. But nowadays we are facing a crisis in Pakistan, and the reason why this thought came to my mind was there is a debate raging in Pakistan that so first let's look at the situation. The situation is that we have thermal power plants that were installed some years ago, and they have to be given capacity payments, which are basically which is basically money to pay the interest on because these are very capital intensive projects. So the power plants have to be given capacity payments. Most of them are privately owned, and because there is not enough capacity utilization, the cost of the unit of electricity has had to go up quite a bit. Now, the reason for less capacity utilization is that in recent years we have not seen the economic growth rate for a number of reasons that had initially been projected when these plants were being built. So the economy has not grown, and so the demand for electricity has not grown. So that's one reason on the demand side. Then on the supply side, the second reason has been that the uptake of rooftop solar has been much faster than the planners had foreseen. And with hundreds of megawatts being added, say 100 megawatts are being added every month to the grid, or being, that much electricity is being taken off the grid, in other words. So the demand, whatever there was, is also stalling, and we're seeing actually the reversal of demand, right? So what we're left with is unutilized capacity in the power sector. So this is now these are uh, two different things. Uh, Now there is a debate in Pakistan where the energy planners are debating among themselves that there is a need to slow down the solar conversion, and that is one of the most ridiculous things that I've heard, because we should be going in the opposite direction. The world is moving towards shrinking the carbon footprint, and promoting renewable energy. And then on the other hand, we are talking of having to, slow down the uptake, reduce some of the incentives on net metering, and so forth, right? Which is basically taking away the incentives on renewable energy and slowing down the conversion. So this is, this led me to I mean, it seems like we're stuck in a tunnel, and everybody's got like blinkers on, and they're all stuck inside a zero-sum game, and they're saying, okay, so we've got capacity payments, so we're going to slow down the solar, and the solar lobby is saying, no, uh, the rate of the electricity is too expensive, and so forth. So it's basically just each is pushing their own argument, and we seem to be stuck in a very limited vision. And it occurred to me that at the very basic level, if the problem is capacity utilization, and as you know, from very elementary cost accounting, we know that there is a fixed cost and there is variable cost, right? So the fixed cost is the capacity payment, and the variable cost is the fuel that it takes to generate the electricity. And if the capacity payment or the fixed cost stays the same regardless whether we use it 10%, 50%, or 100% capacity utilization. So the fixed cost remains the same. The variable cost and the total cost is going to be that which is divided over the total production of the units. And that's how this the whole cost accounting equation works. So now we're being told that uh, if you slow down the solar or you reduce the incentives, then you're going to put more capacity to use, and that is going to lower the per unit cost of electricity. Okay, so that's like a very it's a convoluted argument, and it's very unimaginative. I'm sorry to say. I think the issue is that okay, we have if you really want to increase your capacity utilization, then you need to find alternative uses of your electricity. And that is where the idea of this Sakesar pumping water uphill, this idea came in mind, is that if the issue is that there is not enough utilization, then what if we could store that energy, right? So that's the first thing that comes to mind. The other is that if we could use some of that electricity, produce it and use it, because you're paying for it anyways, right? You're paying for that capacity. Whether you use it or you don't, you're still paying for it. And 71% of some very high figure I read in the in the of the cost of energy is the capacity charge. Um, so whether you use it or you don't, you're paying. So you may as well generate that electricity and then use it for some purpose, to generate some economic activity, which could, come back to the country. So there are different ways. You could store that by pumping water uphill and then storing that water, and then and when the energy is needed, then you pump it down. Think of it like nighttime, you need more. If you need the electricity at night, and you don't get solar, so you bring the water down and you run your hydroelectric turbine, right? And in the daytime, you pump the water up with the extra electricity you have. So that's very simple, um, a closed loop system that how that would work. But obviously, then there are other ways you could desalinate water, right? And think of the Makran Coastal Highway. There's um, no water scarce area. And what if you could what if you could grow some crops on the Makran Coastal Highway? And you could develop some farmland, and you could use some of the um, electricity to desalinate the water. And how much value added could you get? And yeah, okay, fine, this is expensive water, so put in place a drip irrigation. Don't flood irrigate like we do in the agricultural areas or in the river fed canal areas, right? So this is another way is of using some of that electricity that you're paying for anyways, right? You're paying most of that money, and it's going down for it's going into somebody's pocket, or it's just going into interest payments and debt repayment. And it's like, having a car and then that car is parked in the driveway. Okay, so you're not spending money on fuel, but if that car is financed from a bank, you're still having to pay the installment, even if you don't drive the car. So you're still paying for the car, right? Or the same thing with the power plants. So if you generate the electricity, you desalinate water, and you could use some of that water. Well, look, few thousand acres on the Makran Coastal Highway. I don't know. Some agriculturists should tell us if the soil is fertile, if we could find something for the local people to do and bring them drip irrigation water, uh, thousands of acres, farmland. Just think about how much value added would that, and then weigh that against the incremental cost of electricity. I won't say the total cost, but because we're paying the capacity charges anyways. Okay, but beyond that, I said that how you could look at there's unutilized electricity, so let's put that electricity to some use. And then how about displacing? Sometimes, we can displace one fuel. You could use electricity and displace some other fuel. I was talking to chemical engineer, actually more than one. And Pakistan is an agricultural country, and so we make a lot of urea fertilizer, right? This is it is made from natural gas, but until we started running out of natural gas, now we're having to import LNG, liquefied uh, natural gas, and that comes in through, from Qatar and all that. It comes in through tankers, and it is quite expensive. It is pegged to the price of oil, and so it goes up and down in the world market according to the price of oil at that time. The way we made our fertilizer, then natural gas is used as a feedstock. Natural gas is methane, and methane, the chemical formula is NH4. Um, Now, I was talking to a chemical engineer, and I asked him, I said, how else can we make, how else can we make fertilizer? And he said, you need ammonia, right? Ammonia is NH3. So it's one hydrogen molecule less than natural gas. So if you can make it, how do you make ammonia? You make ammonia through electrolysis of water, right? Electrolysis, as we studied in chemistry, is that you separate the water into um, hydrogen and oxygen. So water is H2O. You separate the hydrogen from the oxygen. And once you have the hydrogen, then you have you react that with nitrogen, and the nitrogen is taken from the air. The atmosphere, our air is 70% nitrogen anyways, right? So there is a process of taking nitrogen from the air and hydrogen from the water through electrolysis, reacting both of them, and lo and behold, you create ammonia, NH3, nitrogen, NH3. Now, one molecule of nitrogen, three molecules of hydrogen. Remember, I'll repeat, nitrogen is taken from the air, and hydrogen is taken from electrolysis of water. So you see, the advantage with ammonia is that we can add one more hydrogen atom, and create natural gas, NH4, which is what we're presently importing, right, from Qatar and all that. We're paying um, the same. We're paying. It's pegged to the price of oil, like I said. Um, Electrolysis is an energy-intensive process, and remember, this energy we are getting is from the spare electricity, the electricity that we are having to pay capacity charges for anyways, right? And tomorrow, if you still need more, energy is now a renewable resource. In Pakistan, we can produce energy from wind turbines, and from solar. And it's now very, very cheap. Solar panels, the prices of energy. So it is actually quite dense to be using natural gas, which is a scarce resource, and especially an imported resource, to be producing to produce fertilizer, right? Okay, so back to what we were talking about is that Pakistan has a very large, already established fertilizer industry, and so there is a ammonia industry which is using which actually makes ammonia from natural gas and then uses that ammonia to make fertilizer. So we've already got um, the infrastructure in place. What needs to be done is that we first, I think it can be done in two phases. One is that we should look at a retrofitting technology for the existing fertilizer plants, and where we presently use um, this was explained to me by the chemical engineer. He said, look, where you presently use natural gas as feedstock, you now retrofit. Your main modification is that you install electrolyzers to produce hydrogen. Electrolyzers, remember, is we are using water, and we are doing electrolysis of water to produce hydrogen and oxygen, to separate these two. And that is an energy-intensive process. So you install electrolyzers in the fertilizer plant, you produce hydrogen, you then um, you then also put air separating units to extract nitrogen from the air. The air, as I told you a little while ago, is over 70% nitrogen anyways. So it's basically pulling in the air, taking the nitrogen out. And this is basically talking about retrofitting the existing fertilizer plants, which technically can be done. So in other words, we know the fertilizer plants will no longer require natural gas as any feedstock. They will, however, require some electricity for the electrolysis process, right? The second thing is that is to build dedicated ammonia production units, and these would be built. These kind of units are they can be built near where the surplus power is. So if the surplus power is solar or wind, then they can be in solar next to the wind corridor in southern Sindh, or any dedicated big solar facilities, solar generation parks, or they can even be next to the coal-fired power plants, or whichever other plant, uh, thermal power plants we have, which have surplus electricity where we have to pay capacity charges, right? So you pick up the electricity and you use that for electrolysis. You use that for production of ammonia. But I said the first and most preferred route is to retrofit the fertilizer plants. And the second route is to have ammonia production facilities located near where the surplus energy is to be found. If that is renewable energy or that is thermal energy. So doing these, Pakistan is one. We're eliminating the need for natural gas in our fertilizer production. And remember, ammonia can also be used for a number of other purposes as fuel. We can make other forms of fuel out of it's a very good resource. You can even go on to make full-scale methane, which is natural gas. Add one more hydrogen molecule, NH3, NH4. Yeah, you can make methane, you can make methanol. These are all alternative fuels, liquid fuels that can be used. So this is, roughly, it is also um, going to contribute to our energy security. There is less dependence on imported petroleum or natural gas, or handling it at, Port Qasim terminal, offloading natural gas, piping it um, through our gas infrastructure. So it is, of course, it is contributing to our decarbonization effort. So this is, where the debate is raging in Pakistan, whether we should, what should we do with the capacity charges? Should we slow down solar? No, you should not slow down solar. You should look for using your capacity for doing something which is economically productive, right? And so now, look, we're really desperate for economic growth, and we need economic activity, we need economic growth. And one area I pointed out is desalinate water and use the Makran Coastal Highway, irrigate, develop farmland, and increase agricultural production where it can be done. And the other way is by switching our fertilizer industry from natural gas as a feedstock to ammonia as a feedstock. And ammonia made from hydrogen and nitrogen, the hydrogen coming from electrolysis of water. Water is abundant, it is found everywhere. And nitrogen is abundant, it is found in the air that we breathe, right? So no more need for paying foreign exchange, importing LNG, no need for keeping, from slowing down our solar uptake. Produce as much energy as you can. If you have to pay for the, if you're going to pay for the capacity of the power plants, then you may as well utilize that capacity, right? And put it to some good use. And what better use than to create and generate some economic activity? We are an agriculture country, and it's high time we find a substitute to natural gas uh, to producing fertilizer, which is something that we will need for many decades ahead. Okay, so that's a thought today. I'll keep coming back, but I'm going to also develop this idea. I'm going to be doing another segment on this, and I'm going to be doing a write-up for this. And I'm also writing a book on ecosystems when that is published. So I'm going to try and, it's in editing stage right now. So I'm going to try and get this little piece in on the section on renewable energy. But yeah, this is part of the renewable energy. So this is, right now, it's a high level thought or a plan, but of course we need to do the numbers on this. But I'll keep coming back. I'll keep adding the number. I'll get the numbers done, and we'll put them up somewhere. So this is going to be a little development space. All right. Thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. I'll see you soon.